What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of MUT Tips. I am your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater, and let's jump into today's topic, something you can practice on your own, emotional underscoring. One of my favorite things to do in an improv show that's not actually performing on stage is to be in the sound booth where I get to operate lights and sound. And the cool thing about this is this provides me a unique opportunity to be an active audience member, right? I get to watch the show and enjoy the show, but I also get to actively contribute to the show. You know, I get to yes and the performers on stage from the benefit of being up in the sound booth. So if a scene's happening on stage that's maybe like, a sad scene, I can go through my YouTube audio library compilation playlist, right? I have a bunch of tracks, instrumentals, and I can play one of those tracks and kind of help emotionally underscore the scene to help it heighten itself and reach, an emotional climax. We get to actively participate together. And music's really powerful. If you watch movies, it plays a very powerful role, right? If there's an action scene, the action doesn't become as impactful without that music, that fast-paced music. And there's a lot of YouTube clips as well of really well-known movie scenes, the ending scene from Star Wars: A New Hope, where the heroes are being recognized as heroes with medals. And generally, obviously, in that clip, there's a track being played, flourishing music, really ceremonious music being played. And there's a YouTube clip where they take out that music, and it just kind of becomes kind of awkward and not as powerful. So I'm gonna work on actually using music as a way to help us reach emotional heights and to be inspired during this shelter-in-place time. So this is something you could practice on your own. All of the musical resources that I'm gonna use today are gonna come from YouTube Audio Library. Just type that into Google and it'll bring up that website. There's various other websites that you can use, but this is what I'll focus on today. When you go to that website, you'll see that there's various categories. For example, there's genre, mood, instrument, duration, and attribution. The one that I want to focus on, though, is going to be mood, because mood is ultimately going to bring out emotions in us, and that's what I want today's video to be all about, is taking us to emotional heights. For this first exercise, we're going to practice walking with emotion, okay? So what's going to happen is you're going to walk around just as yourself, neutral, no emotion. I'll leave some silence to allow you to do this. And then you'll start to hear some music playing for about 30 seconds. During this 30-second time period, I want you to let the music affect you, okay? Attribute what is the tone of the music? What emotion is it making you feel? And just heighten it, okay? You don't have to go to level 10, but as you're walking, let the music impact you. Generally, it's gonna impact you inside, and then it'll start to come out, okay? It'll affect the way you walk. It'll affect the way you hold your body. It'll affect, your eyes as well, or your facial expressions, okay? So walk around for 30 seconds with each track and just see what emotional, changes happen, okay? Let's go to track number 1. Very good. Let's reset now. We're going to go to track number 2. Great job. Let's go to track number 3 to close us out. Awesome, how was that? And you can continue to do this with various tracks. Again, go to YouTube Audio Library and just pick some random tracks. It's gonna be helpful for you to actually, discover new ways to move your body especially, which I know right now in shelter in place, the one restriction that we have, the really big one is just movement, right? If we happen to improvise with, our ensemble or our teammates or in class, it's sometimes a little hard or stifling to actually get into a walk or a movement because you might be just sitting at your desk improvising to your webcam. So this is just a way to still practice those things that we may be, deprived of during this time, okay? So use your emotions to get into some interesting movement. So the next activity we're gonna do is get into some emotional storytelling. And I'll practice it first and I'll let you do it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play a track, okay? Some random track. And during the course of this story, I'm going to let the emotions of the song impact the emotional expression of my story. I'll get a suggestion from my handy dandy app and use that as a starting off point, but then it's gonna be all about emotionally reacting to what I'm hearing, okay? Let me feel the story, be affected by it, and let it affect the story that I tell. All right, to get started, I'm gonna bring out my handy dandy app. Again, the app is called Sakyo. It's a great way to get suggestions during this time. And I'm gonna click on the character tab right there, click it a few times, and that is my suggestion, okay? Demon. Ooh, demon is a suggestion for my story. I'm gonna go to YouTube Audio Library. The only thing I'm gonna do is under mood, I'm going to click dramatic, okay? It's just a way to kind of get cinematic with my storytelling, and I'm gonna be affected by the music as I tell this 30-second tale. Let's see how we do. Geraldo was a sad demon. He lay in the underworld thinking about what his life would be. He twirled his horn and just thought, maybe there's something more to life than the depths of hell. So he got up from his bed, looked up to a hole that was on the very, very highest point of hell. He thought, maybe I can crawl through that hole. So Geraldo went and got the highest ladder in all of hell. He climbed up, reached, but he couldn't reach high enough to reach the hole. So he looked down to hell and thought, maybe this is where I'm meant to be for the rest of my life. Great, so that was my story of Geraldo, the very sad demon. And notice the story wasn't complete. It was almost just an emotional starting off point to a story because the track that I played, it's not gonna progress like a story. Stories have ups, they have downs, and this was just a song that just encapsulated one moment, okay? If it was a sad song and then suddenly it became kind of happy, it would have been weird, right? I was just focusing on just honing in on this specific moment, this crystallized moment about a sad demon in hell. So now it's your time. All right, I'm gonna play a track on the screen, but first let me bring out my handy dandy app and use it to inspire you. And this time, just like last time, I'll click character, and this is your suggestion for your story. It is going to be bouncer, okay? So I'm gonna play a track and you're gonna tell a story about a bouncer. Don't feel like it has to be complete. Imagine it's the chapter 1 of this story about a bouncer. Let's see what happens. Awesome, how was it? And again, this was only 30 seconds. If you want, you can play the entire track or go find a new track and tell a story for the entire duration. It's up to you. Let's see what details can come out of the story using emotional underscoring. For this final exercise, this is gonna be kind of an experimental game because there's a short form improv game called Changing Emotions, and we're gonna use that format to tell a story, okay? So the way it's gonna work is I'll practice myself and get a suggestion, but I'm gonna tell like about 20 seconds of a story in just kind of a neutral tone, just kind of set up the base reality, and then I'm gonna start to play a random track, okay? Every 20 seconds, I'm gonna play a new random track and just let it impact the emotions and let it just kind of like change and alter what is happening in the story. Let's see how I do. Let me bring out my handy dandy app and go ahead and find a new suggestion of a character. That's my suggestion. It's gonna be a shoemaker, okay? So again, I'm gonna tell about 20 seconds of a story with no emotional musical accompaniment. And then at that point, I'm gonna just play a random track and let it inspire and change me, change the emotions and see what happens. It might get a little crazy, but you know what? That's what improv's all about. Leonard inherited the company of Shoes R Us from his late father, Sir William III. And Sir William III was the most revered shoemaker in all the land, but Leonard, well, he wasn't very good at making shoes. No. No. That wasn't the life for Leonard. No, he'd much rather be at home in a dimly lit room with a cigarette and a glass of scotch with one giant ice cube in it. He didn't care much for his business. He had an infatuation for exploration, the world. It was so cultural. So he decided one day to just throw away his company. He got on a boat, just started rowing across the ocean to see where he would land. And he landed in a desert of sorts. And he met a delightful fellow with cool sunglasses. He was the happiest man who he'd ever met. And Leonard felt happy too. Finally, he was free. He no longer had to worry about his father's company. He ran across the desert with this local man, and there was a local tribe as well of other happy folk. Yeah, the local people were so happy to just be vandalizing and trashing the desert. They took pleasure in it. They were spray painting over cacti. They were, destroying the local pyramids as well. And Leonard felt this as well. He felt angry happiness. And that's my story about Leonard. And notice when the song started playing, I let it impact me for a few seconds. I took as long as 10 seconds sometimes to feel the music, let it affect me, and then let that emotional change drive where the story went next. Try not to deny your previous setup lines, let it just keep escalating, okay? It's a snowball effect, okay? Your story keeps growing based on the previous information. Don't deny it and neglect that it existed, okay? All right, it's your turn. So again, I'm gonna give you a suggestion. There'll be about 15 seconds of silence. Start just telling a simple story, maybe about one character, and then I'm gonna start playing some tracks every 20 seconds or so, okay? Again, let the music affect you. Let it really change the tone of your story and be prepared for it to change again, okay? Let me bring up my handy dandy app one more time and give you another character. This is gonna be your suggestion, all right? Your suggestion is snowboarder, okay? Go ahead and start with your introduction to the snowboarder tale, and we'll see what the music does. Awesome. How was your story? I'm sure it was very interesting. And this is something that you can keep practicing. Just go to YouTube Audio Library, download a bunch of random tracks, put it in a playlist, and then just hit shuffle. And just every 30 seconds, change the song. And just see how it changes and impacts your story, okay? See how long you can go. Maybe you can tell like a full 20, 30-minute story, you know? That could be your goal. Don't feel like you have to rush into that, but let's see what happens with the power of storytelling and emotional underscoring. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of MUT Tips. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, like it down below, comment with someone you would like addressed in a future video, share the video with someone you think it might help. Also, subscribe on YouTube to be notified of upcoming videos. Ring that bell because there's MUT Tips every single week, and we do release other content as well. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next time for another episode of MUT Tips. Bye.